Did you know that frogs are nature's pesticide? Did you also know that there are over 7,000 different species of frogs all across the world? We're going to talk about why frogs are so important to our ecosystem in this video. But if you want to learn more about the 7,000 different species of frogs, then we have another video on that topic. Frogs play an important role in the environment as both predator and prey. The presence of frogs can help keep pest populations under control. This is because frogs will eat many types of insects, which can include crop pests that could otherwise damage valuable food crops or spread disease. For example, in Africa, American bullfrogs were introduced, and they caused a decline in the population of the African clawed frog. While not a direct benefit to humans, this had a positive effect on the ecosystem since the American bullfrog was a non-native invasive species. Similarly, American bullfrogs in North America prey on native frogs and other amphibians, which can be detrimental to the ecosystem. So you can see that frogs can either be beneficial or harmful to an ecosystem depending on whether or not they are native to that area. Frogs are also an important source of nutrition for many animals such as birds, snakes, mammals, and other amphibians. Many species of birds, including herons, egrets, and bitterns, rely on frogs as a significant part of their diet. In some cases, frogs make up over 90% of the diet of these birds. Similarly, frogs are a major food source for many species of snakes, including garter snakes. In fact, some snake species, such as the western yellow-bellied racer, will only eat frogs. Lastly, frogs are an important source of nutrition for many mammals, including foxes, raccoons, and minks. Next, we need to talk about how frogs are actually really good indicators of environmental health. This is because frogs have thin, moist skin, which makes them very sensitive to changes in their environment. For example, frogs are often the first animals to be affected by acid rain or other forms of pollution. As a result, frogs are often used as indicator species to monitor the health of an ecosystem. By studying frogs, scientists can learn a lot about the overall health of an environment. One way that scientists use frogs to study the health of an ecosystem is by measuring the levels of certain chemicals in their bodies. For example, frogs are often used to measure the levels of pesticides and other chemicals in the environment. Another way that scientists use frogs to study the health of an ecosystem is by observing changes in their population size and distribution. For example, if the population of a particular species of frog is declining, this may be an indication that the ecosystem is in trouble. Additionally, frogs are also very sensitive to changes in temperature and humidity, so they can be used as indicators of climate change. For example, if frogs are beginning to die off in large numbers during periods of hot, dry weather, this may be an indication that the climate is changing. Overall, frogs are very useful animals when it comes to studying the health of an ecosystem. Their thin, moist skin makes them very sensitive to changes in their environment, so they are often the first animals to be affected when something is wrong. By studying frogs, scientists can learn a lot about the overall health of an environment. Frogs also help to keep insect populations under control. As we mentioned before, frogs are voracious predators of insects, and they will eat pretty much any insect that they can catch. This helps to keep insect populations under control and prevents them from becoming a nuisance or even a threat to human health. Insects can carry diseases that are harmful to humans and other animals, so it is important to keep their populations under control. Frogs are able to consume huge quantities of insects, which helps to reduce the number of insects that are able to spread disease. In addition to reducing the number of disease-carrying insects, frogs also compete with other animals that carry diseases, such as ticks and mosquitoes. This competition helps to keep disease-carrying pests away from where humans live and work. By consuming huge quantities of insects, frogs are able to reduce the number of insects that are able to reproduce. This helps to prevent insect populations from getting out of control and becoming a nuisance. Insects can be a nuisance when they enter homes and businesses in large numbers. They can also cause damage to crops and other plants. By reducing the number of insects that are able to reproduce, frogs help to prevent these problems. Frogs are actually considered to be excellent indicators of environmental health. This is due to their permeable skin, which allows them to absorb water and nutrients directly from their surroundings. However, this same characteristic makes them vulnerable to changes in their environment, such as pollution or changes in temperature and humidity. As a result, Frogs are often used as indicator species to monitor the health of an ecosystem. If there are high levels of pollutants in the environment, for example, frogs may be among the first animals to show signs of illness or death. Similarly, if the climate is changing and temperatures are rising, frogs may be among the first species to suffer population declines as their habitats dry up or become otherwise uninhabitable. By monitoring frogs, scientists can get an early warning sign of problems in the environment and take steps to address them. Frogs are also very sensitive to changes in their environment, such as the introduction of new species or the destruction of their habitat. As a result, frogs are often used as indicator species to monitor the health of an ecosystem. For example, if a new invasive species is introduced into an ecosystem, frogs may be among the first animals to suffer population declines, as they are often at the top of the food chain, and are therefore particularly vulnerable to changes in their environment. Another reason that frogs are so important is because they are a food source for many animals. As we mentioned earlier, frogs are a major food source for many birds, snakes, mammals, and other amphibians. In some cases, frogs make up over 90% of the diet of certain animals. When frogs are removed from an ecosystem, this can have a negative impact on the animals that rely on them as a food source. For example, if frogs are declining in numbers, this may lead to declines in the populations of the animals that eat them. Additionally, frogs are also an important source of protein for humans in some cultures. In places like South Africa, for example, frogs are commonly eaten as a delicacy. Another reason that frogs are so important is because they are a key part of the food chain. As we mentioned earlier, frogs are a major food source for many animals. When frogs are removed from an ecosystem, this can disrupt the balance of the food chain. For example, if frogs are declining in numbers, this may lead to an increase in the populations of the animals that prey on them. Lastly, we need to talk about how frogs help to control populations of other animals. Frogs are known to consume a wide variety of aquatic and terrestrial animals, including insects, worms, slugs, snails, fish, mice, and rats. By consuming these animals, frogs help to keep their populations under control. For example, in rice paddies, frogs are known to consume large numbers of rodents, which can help to protect the rice crop from damage. Frogs are also known to consume large numbers of insects, which can help to reduce the number of insects that are able to spread disease. By consuming disease-carrying insects, frogs help to reduce the risk of disease outbreaks in other animals. If you think about it, we really couldn't survive without frogs. They're an important part of the ecosystem and help to keep things in balance. But unfortunately, frogs are disappearing from many parts of the world due to things like habitat loss, climate change, and pollution. This is a bad thing, not only for the frogs, but also for us humans. Since frogs are an important resource for food and also play an important role in controlling pests. So we need to do everything we can to protect frogs and their habitats. We hope that you enjoyed learning about why frogs are so important. If you did, please let us know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about frogs or other animals, we have tons of videos available. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.